Live from the CBS Bay Area studios, this is KPIX 5 News.
Coming up on KPIX 5 News, preparing for wildfires. CAL FIRE's Battalion Chief joins us live to discuss the ongoing firefight across the state and what the Bay Area crews are getting to get ready for a blaze if it sparks here.
Plus, a lot shaking up at the White House this week. Congressman Eric Swalwell will be here to discuss the latest in Washington and the investigation into Russia.
And a live look from Chopper 5 as we go over the 40th annual running of the San Francisco Marathon. You're looking at the front runner right now as he sprints down Market Street. It's 7:30 a.m. on this July 23rd. Good morning. I'm Phil Matier.
And I'm Melissa Kane. Our KPIX 5 is following that race from start to finish. And here's a live look at the runner who just passed mile 21. There he is going down Market Street. And take a look at this this route Mission Street. And we want to take a quick look to show you the really arduous, very difficult route that these runners have to go through. It's 26.2 miles, of course. It starts and finishes on the Embarcadero. And besides crossing the iconic Golden Gate Bridge, runners make their way through the Presidio and spend about 5 miles twisting around in Golden Gate Park. We sent our crew to check out the scene before the race kicked off. And you can see people there stretching, pacing about, getting ready to tackle the hills of the city. One runner told us it's a marathon that can't be topped.
The hills actually get us excited. How's that? And the people and the crowds
and the scenery.
The scenery. You cannot beat this.
You cannot beat it.
Yeah, you have to do it. If you're a runner, you have to come to San Francisco and cross the Golden Gate Bridge.
She and about 27,000 others are running some or all of the course here today.
And here's a live look overhead from Chopper 5. And we also have the pace car following the head of the pack. Now, I understand that this marathon, as exciting as it may be, is a tough one for the runners.
That's right. It's known as one of the most difficult ones in the nation. That's why so few people run. We see the 27,000 number, but the truth is less than 7,000 do the entire marathon. A lot of that is 5K, 10K.
Now, what makes this so particularly challenging for the front runners like the one we're seeing right there?
Well, of course, the hills and then the twists and the turns they have to go through the city. San Francisco is a tough city to pack a 26-mile race into. And so when you see professional runners, the San Francisco Marathon is going to add maybe 15, 16 seconds to your overall time. And if you're looking at trying to keep your average time up, this is not the race for you. This is a race for people who love to run. And we've got KPIX 5's Emily Turner at the Golden Gate Bridge, where runners are finishing mile 10 as they cross back into San Francisco. Emily?
Melissa, you're talking about folks who love to run. Well, we've seen a lot of smiles, and I don't know if it's because it's the first half of the race or what, but certainly folks are very excited. They've got full reign of the northbound lanes today. See, look at that. Everybody's in a good mood. They're getting ready to cool off because it is foggy, windy, and chilly, at least for us up here. But everybody seems to be in good spirits, at least this point in their 26.2 miles. We're live right now with Priya Clemens from the Golden Gate Bridge District, who's here to talk to us about the first time ever shutting down the northbound lanes. Why do it this year?
So there have been some recent tragic world events in which drivers have intentionally driven into crowds of pedestrians and done them harm. The Bridge Board of Directors didn't want to see anything like that happen here, so they took this unprecedented preventive step to make sure that the runners are safe this morning. There are about 15,000 runners that are crossing the bridge and coming back. They go northbound, then they come back. And typically there are about 4,500 drivers who would cross the bridge northbound from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on a Sunday morning. They're going to have to go the long way around.
Got it. And so what kind of challenges does this pose, shutting down an entire side of the Golden Gate Bridge?
Yeah, it's no easy task. We needed to make sure that we had communication out there, that as many people knew as possible, that we arranged for Golden Gate Transit buses to provide public transit across the bridge, that we have emergency vehicles that are still permitted to travel northbound in that lane that used to have traffic in it. And so there was a lot of coordination that needed to happen, but for the sake of safety, this was felt to be necessary.
Got it. Now, is this something that we can come to expect in future years for future marathons, or is this a once-off thing?
This was a once-off decision to close the bridge roadway northbound during this marathon. However, the Bridge Board is going to come back and look at it as a policy issue. Do we allow special events on the roadway, or do we keep it open to vehicles in the future? So that's a decision the Bridge Board will come to in the next coming months.
And one of the reasons that you guys are going to decide whether or not to do it again, and that this is even in question, is what? Like, why not just decide we're going to do it forever this way?
You know, we are a transportation agency, and the Golden Gate Bridge is a vital artery to keep people moving in the Bay Area. This is the simplest way to get to the North Bay or to San Francisco from the North Bay. Right now, drivers have to add an extra hour of travel time if they're going to go across the Bay Bridge, and this is Richmond San Rafael. So while this was necessary because the event was coming up in a very short order, we felt it was too late to cancel. It's really a decision about how we balance public access to the bridge with security and the needs of transportation in our area.
Got it. Thank you so much, Priya. And for those of you who are planning to go to the North Bay, the bridge will reopen at 9 o'clock this morning, but expect some delays in getting here. Reporting live in San Francisco, Emily Turner, KPIX 5.
Thanks, Emily. People don't realize that bridge turns into a hill when you take the cars off of it. The weight is gone, and it's actually, you have to run up a little bit to get over there. And if you're not prepared, it's just another thing.
Well, probably one of the easier hills they'll have to cross, because when you come down off the bridge and you're heading up towards the park, that is straight up right through Seacliff.
That's right.
And what kind of weather are they facing today?
Well, you can see, if you looked at those two pictures side by side, you saw Mission Street, sunshine, and the bridge sucked in. Here's another view of the bridge. We can't even see the racers, the runners, from this perspective, because we do have a lot of drizzle, a lot of mist out there. Temperatures right now in San Francisco at 56 degrees. Low 60s for pretty much everyone else in the Bay Area. For those runners who will likely be sticking around the city later today, we will continue to see this deepening marine layer helping to keep temperatures on the cooler side for us, but I do think we'll see sunshine even along the coast for most today. By the time the race is over, around lunchtime today, we will see skies clearing for much of San Francisco. 67 degrees, your noontime temperature today. I'll have your full forecast coming up in just a bit with the forecast for the rest of the Bay Area. In the meantime, back over to you guys.
And two of the best soccer teams in the world are getting ready to face off in the Bay Area. Today, Real Madrid will take on Manchester United at Levi's Stadium, which could also cause some major gridlock. That's because Great America is right next door. Now, usually on game days, the theme park closes, so Niners fans can use the parking lot and get out with less traffic, but not today. The park will remain open during the match, so traffic will likely come to a standstill.
Now they close the roads even all of a sudden because the stadium's here and they're having all these games here and stuff. It's ridiculous.
Now, Santa Clara PD and California Highway Patrol will be on hand today to help with the traffic and also security. The game starts at 2 o'clock.
And new this morning, after weeks of shifting through allegations of vote stuffing, the California Democratic Party confirms Eric Bauman as the new party chair, although it may still be controversial. Rival candidate Kimberly Ellis had submitted a number of objections over the results of the election in May, which pitted the progressive Ellis against the more establishment candidate Bauman. A special Democratic panel was convened, and they wound up invalidating 47 votes. 25 of the votes were for Bauman, 22 were for Ellis. Ellis, however, has requested an independent audit and has still not conceded the election.
And now for your stories from around the Bay. First up, an immigration crackdown may be headed for the Bay Area. The acting director of the Immigration Customs Enforcement Agency, Thomas Homan, says get ready for more ICE agents in sanctuary cities. Homan told the Washington Examiner he has the green light to hire 10,000 new immigration agents, and he plans to use them to beef up a presence in sanctuary cities like San Francisco. And second, Airbnb is under fire in Marin. This week, the Marin Board of Supervisors considered regulations for short-term rentals like Airbnb, VRBO, and Expedia. The board commissioned a study that found more than 1,200 short-term rentals in Marin, and 88% of those were for the whole home.
The only thing standing between me and living under a freeway overpass is Airbnb. That's all there is. It's as simple as that. And the more you folks can see fit to stay out of this, the better off I think we'll all be.
I'm against Airbnb. I don't want to live next to a hotel. My home is residential. I keep it residential.
Now, the board didn't take any action this week, but asked for further study and will revisit the issue in 3 to 4 months. And finally, Koreans will rally for peace. This Thursday at 4 p.m., a group called Hella Organized Bay Area Koreans, or HOBAK, will hold a demonstration at the Korean consulate in San Francisco. The group wants South Korea to sign a peace treaty with North Korea and put a stop to U.S. militarism in the region.
And in Sacramento, Governor Jerry Brown is still enjoying a victory following a high-stakes showdown over climate change. By a narrow margin, the State Assembly voted to extend California's cap-and-trade program through 2030. Now, this is the program that requires companies like refineries to buy permits when they release too many greenhouse gases. The bill finally made it across the finish line with the support of one Republican senator and a handful of Republican Assembly members. However, opponents still worry about the financial burden of potentially raising energy costs that could hurt all Californians.
Continue to put pressure on poor people in California, on the middle class, and we ought to figure out other ways to address environmental concerns.
One of the biggest concerns from critics is that the bill could create a spike in gas prices by up to 64 cents per gallon by 2021. This was a very tight vote. The governor had to pull in some Republicans, give some Democrats a pass, and there still could be some fallout. I understand that Chad Mayes, the minority assembly leader for the Republicans, could lose his job over having crossed the line and voted with the governor.
That's right. He sort of engineered a compromise whereby a handful of Assembly Republicans voted in favor of it. And the legislature is on break until August 21st, and when they come back, there's a decent chance that he could be voted out of that leadership position. And now they're making an issue of an alleged affair that he might have had with his predecessor in his seat in the Assembly. And that may be one reason why he would.
They're bringing up everything. In other words, it's gotten ugly quickly after that vote. Meanwhile, I understand the Trump administration is not going to be cutting off funding for sanctuary cities?
That's right. This week, a judge ruled that that the prior injunction to stop the executive order on sanctuary cities will not be revisited. President Trump had issued an executive order against cities who refused to cooperate with federal immigration authorities, but the judge this week said it is beyond President Trump's constitutional authority to take away all federal funding.
And meanwhile, a new report shows just how many Americans could lose their health care under the Republican plan to repeal Obamacare and replace it later. The Congressional Budget Office says that 32 million Americans could become uninsured over the next decade, and 17 million of those could lose their coverage next year. It also estimates the average premiums could increase by 25%. Now, all this comes as President Trump called for the Senate Republican leaders to keep their promise and repeal and replace Obamacare.
Inaction is not an option. And frankly, I don't think we should leave town unless we have a health insurance plan, unless we can give our people great health care, because we're close.
And Republican leaders say that a health care vote could happen as early as Tuesday, although it's been shown that the leadership's projections and the rank-and-file Republicans in it is totally off in different areas.
Yeah, even sometimes within minutes of each other announcing different strategies there. And we saw another holdup come down on Friday when the Senate parliamentarian ruled that big chunks of the Republican plan would need 60 votes, not just the 50 votes that they've been counting on. So even more difficult to get parts of this passed than they thought.
And they haven't even been able to get the 50. Okay, when we come back, we're going to sit down with a CAL FIRE battalion chief, and we're going to get an update on the fires across the state, and also what the crews in the Bay Area are doing to prepare in case we have one here.
And we're staying on top of that San Francisco Marathon. Here's a live look now at runners crossing the Golden Gate Bridge back into San Francisco. These runners just finished mile 10 of the race. We'll be right back.